If you didn't know this already, those tiny bottles of Fireball cinnamon are under fire, pun very much intended, for misleading people into thinking that there is whiskey in those bottles. My name is Andrei, Mincov, founder and CEO of Trademark Factory, and in this video, we'll talk about deceptive, misdescriptive trademarks and why Sazerac is dealing with its confusing whiskey problem.
Get it trademarked with Trademark Factory.
Before we talk about Fireball, let's start with what deceptive, misdescriptive trademarks are. A brand is considered to be deceptively misdescriptive if it falsely suggests that your product or service has a certain component, ingredient, feature, characteristic, or purpose, while in fact it doesn't have that feature or characteristic. It's because trademark laws have a dual purpose. On the one hand, it's to protect brand owners from getting ripped off by competitors. But it's also to protect consumers from being misled by mean copycats. For example, you couldn't trademark vanilla cake for chocolate-flavored ice cream. Similarly, you couldn't trademark metal flowers if you sell flowers made out of plastic, but made to look as if they're made of metal, right? So what really happened to Fireball cinnamon whiskey? It all started a few years ago when Sazerac, the makers of Fireball, released a non-alcoholic version of their famous Fireball cinnamon whiskey. And guess what? They were allowed to sell their non-alcoholic version to over 170,000 stores across the US that could only sell beer, malt beverages, and wine products, right? So they couldn't sell their real whiskey. They put together a non-alcoholic version and were allowed to sell it in a bunch of stores. And recently, a group of people filed a class action lawsuit against Sazerac because of the confusing labels, right? So all of those people who suffered greatly because they went to a store, bought what they thought was whiskey, drank it, and realized there was no whiskey in it, right? So all of that desperation, horror, and pain that they suffered, now they're suing Sazerac for. And right, if you weren't able to take a closer look at both bottles, well, here they are, right? And indeed, they do look very similar, with the non-alcoholic version being smaller, but unless you're actually comparing them side by side, it's hard to tell them apart. So, and really, even if I didn't pay close attention to the tiny label on the non-alcoholic bottle, even I'd think it was a tiny version of Fireball whiskey. So I guess now we know the convenience store version of Fireball cinnamons does not have whiskey, right? So while we're currently waiting for updates on this class action lawsuit, this teaches us an important lesson. When building a brand, it's great to strategize and check whether your brand may be misleading or confusing to your future customers. And if you're building a brand and want the best service to get an R in a circle on your brand, well, check out Trademark Factory. We're the only firm in the world that offers trademarking services with a guaranteed result for a guaranteed budget. And yes, we do a thorough check before we even file your trademark. We'd be able to tell you if your brand might encounter problems like Sazerac did with their Fireball whiskey, among dozens and dozens and dozens of other things we'll look at when we conduct our comprehensive search in the beginning of the process, right? So check us out by clicking the link below to book your free call with us today. Now, on the other hand, I'm just thinking, if you want more trademark related content, how about you click that subscribe button right now? I mean, click it right now. Because I know there's a lot of people who are watching this video who haven't subscribed yet. And if that's you, well, click it. And until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah.